It all started on a rainy summer night in the countryside, where fate decided to play its little prank. Mei Lin, a city girl known for her bold style and big dreams, had come to the village only for one reason: an escape. Her friends had dragged her out of the city for a weekend retreat, thinking some fresh air and time away from the stress of her broken engagement would do her good. She wasn't the type to enjoy muddy roads and rice fields, but she needed the break. What she didn't expect was to get completely drunk on homemade rice wine at the village festival, and definitely not what happened next. She had wandered off from the group, giggling and humming to herself under the starry sky, when she tripped and stumbled into someone standing near the edge of a quiet field. It all happened so fast. In her tipsy haze, she saw a figure, tall, broad-shouldered, the scent of the earth clinging to him. And before she knew it, she grabbed his collar and kissed him, just like that. A full, drunken, unexpected kiss. The man froze, not because he didn't like it, but because he didn't see it coming. And more importantly, because he knew exactly who she was. You see, the man she kissed wasn't just any poor farmer like he appeared to be. His name was Ji Yuan. To the rest of the village, he was a quiet, hard-working guy who tilled the land, delivered vegetables, and lived in a simple wooden house. But behind that humble appearance was a reality no one knew. He was actually the secret CEO of a massive agricultural tech company worth billions, who had chosen to live away from the city and build his empire from the ground up. That kiss meant nothing to Mei Lin at the time. Just a silly moment she brushed off the next morning with a hangover and no memory of the man's face. But to Ji Yuan, it was the start of something he hadn't felt in years. A spark. A strange, unfamiliar pull toward this loud, flashy girl who had no clue who he really was. The next morning, Mei Lin woke up in a guest room of one of the village aunties, her lipstick smudged, hair a mess, and a vague memory of someone's warm hands catching her fall. Her friends teased her about kissing a village guy, but she laughed it off. No way, she thought. She wasn't the kind of girl who'd fall for someone with calloused hands and muddy boots. But then, she kept running into him. First, at the village market where he was selling vegetables. Then, when her scooter broke down and he happened to walk by and helped her fix it without a word. And again, when she got lost during a hike and found him waiting at the trail with a bottle of water and that same quiet expression. Each time he was polite, distant, and calm. And each time she found herself a little more curious. "Why do you always show up when I'm in trouble?" she asked once, half joking, half annoyed. He simply shrugged. "Maybe trouble finds you." She hated how mysterious he was, hated how his silence made her overthink. But what she hated more was how she started noticing things about him, like the way he smiled at children, the way he treated the elders with patience, the way he carried himself, not like a man beaten by life, but like someone who chose to walk through the mud with pride. Still, her city instincts told her this couldn't go anywhere. He was a farmer. She was a city girl. She wore heels. He wore rubber boots. She drank coffee from a sleek machine. He boiled tea on a charcoal stove. What future could they possibly have? What she didn't know was that Ji Yuan had already begun testing her without her knowledge. He watched how she reacted when faced with inconveniences, how she treated the villagers, how she spoke when she thought no one was listening. Every smile, every complaint, every moment of kindness or irritation, he was reading her like a book. Not because he was judging her, but because he was trying to figure out, could she love him without knowing who he really was? Days passed, and Mei Lin's weekend trip stretched into weeks. Something about the village calmed her, healed her. She began helping in the fields, laughing with the aunties, even learning how to cook local dishes. And Ji Yuan, he stayed close, yet just far enough, watching, waiting. But then came the twist. One afternoon, Mei Lin overheard a phone call. A strange one. Ji Yuan was speaking in fluent business terms. His voice sharp, commanding, nothing like the quiet farmer she thought. She knew. She didn't hear much, but just enough. Stocks, investments, merger proposals. Her heart raced. Was this man lying about who he was? That night she followed him. Curiosity turned into something deeper, suspicion, maybe even fear. She saw him enter a sleek black SUV parked in the forest. Saw him hand over a laptop to a man in a suit. And then she heard him say something that stopped her breath. She doesn't know who I am. I want to keep it that way. For now. Mei Lin froze. Behind the trees. Who was this man? Why was he pretending? And most importantly, why did her heart hurt, knowing he wasn't who she thought he was? What started as an accidental kiss was now a whirlwind of secrets, emotions, and a truth too big to ignore. Mei Lin was about to uncover more than just the man's identity. She was about to question everything she believed about love, trust, and appearances. But before she could confront him, he disappeared, just like that, vanished from the village. No note, no goodbye, only a bouquet of wildflowers left at her doorstep. And now, she has to decide. Will she go back to her city life, pretending nothing happened, or will she chase the truth about the man she kissed by mistake, but maybe fell in love with for real? The answer lies ahead, but not yet, because this is only the beginning. After Ji Yuan vanished, Mei Lin felt like someone had pulled the ground from under her feet. The village wasn't the same without him. The mornings felt too quiet. The sunset didn't glow the same way. And those little things, the way he always left fresh fruit by her door, the way he'd casually walk by the stream just when she did, pretending it was a coincidence, they were gone too. At first, she tried to convince herself that it didn't matter. He was just a village guy, right? Just someone who helped her through a strange time in her life. But the more she tried to ignore it, the more restless she became. Her thoughts kept drifting back to the way he looked at her. Not like she was a rich city girl out of place, but like he saw something deeper. She returned to the city soon after, back to her old apartment, her coffee shops, her buzzing phone. But everything felt off. Her old friends noticed. "You've changed," they said. What happened to the Mei Lin who hated dirt and loved drama? She didn't have an answer. Weeks passed. Then one night, while scrolling through a financial news app on her phone, she froze. There, in a business article about rising CEOs in the agri-tech world, was a photo. Ji Yuan, clean-shaven, in a sharp grey suit, standing next to a new greenhouse project with government officials. The headline read, "Young tech CEO builds billion-dollar empire from the fields." Her hands trembled. She wasn't imagining it. He had lied. No, hidden everything. But why? That same night, she found herself dialing a number she wasn't even sure he would answer. It went straight to voicemail. She tried again. Still nothing. But she wasn't done. If there was one thing about Mei Lin, when her heart was involved, she didn't give up easily. She made a bold decision. The next morning, she took a flight to a smaller city mentioned in the article, where Ji Yuan's company had its headquarters. It wasn't hard to find. His company's name was everywhere, on posters, trucks, and even a community farming app on her phone. But getting to him, that was the hard part. Security at the sleek glass office didn't let her in. She waited in the lobby all day, pretending to scroll through her phone. Hours passed. At one point, she saw him, stepping into an elevator, surrounded by his team. Their eyes met, just for a second. Then he looked away, like he didn't even know her. Maylin's heart dropped. But what she didn't know was that Ji-Yuan was doing everything he could not to show how much it hurt. He had been avoiding her, not because he didn't care, but because he did. Too much. He had fallen for her, but he didn't know if she loved him, or just the version of him she thought she kissed. A poor farmer, simple and kind. To Ji-Yuan, the stakes were high. His last relationship had ended in betrayal. Someone who only wanted his wealth, who left when she realized he wouldn't hand it over. Since then, trust had been a foreign thing. He needed to be sure Mei Lin wasn't the same. But Mei Lin wasn't giving up. She started digging deeper, talking to people who worked in his company, getting to know the kind of CEO he was. She met farmers who said Ji-Yuan changed their lives. He gave them better tools, fair prices, and hope. She even volunteered at one of his local training centers, hoping she'd run into him. But every time she was close, he slipped away, until one evening, while she was helping set up a tech demo for kids in the farming village, the power cut out. Everyone panicked, but then someone lit a lantern. It was him, Ji-Yuan. No security, no suits, just a quiet smile and a look that said, "You really didn't give up, did you?" They didn't talk much that night, but the silence between them was full. It said everything their words couldn't yet. And still, the real confrontation hadn't happened. That came days later, when he finally agreed to meet her properly. They sat by a lake outside the city. The water still, the sky cloudy. "I don't understand," she said, voice quiet. "You lied to me?" "I didn't lie," he said softly. "I just didn't tell you. I wanted to see who you were without the layers, without the filters." "And what did you see?" He looked at her, long and steady. "Someone who surprised me. Someone I didn't expect to care about." There was a pause. "And now," he hesitated. "Now I don't know if you love me, or the man you thought I was." Mei Lin blinked back emotion. "Do you even know who I am? I was spoiled, selfish, rude at first. You saw that, but I stayed. I tried. Doesn't that mean anything?" Ji-Yuan looked away. "It does, but I've been wrong before." That's when it clicked for her. He wasn't hiding from her. He was protecting himself. That moment cracked something open between them. Not love yet, not forgiveness, but understanding. She didn't press him. Instead, she let time do what it does best, reveal. Over the next few weeks, their interactions grew warmer, real. They laughed again, shared meals, talked about dreams, and yet, the full truth between them still hung in the air, unspoken. But then came the deal that changed everything. Ji-Yuan's company was about to be bought out by a foreign investor. A massive deal, life-changing, but risky. Rumors spread that someone inside was leaking information, and Mei Lin, being the only new face around, became the prime suspect. One of Ji-Yuan's advisors confronted him. "She's too curious, too close. How do we know she's not here to get something out of you?" The seed of doubt was planted again, and now Ji-Yuan faced his biggest test. Would he trust the girl who kissed him under the stars and then followed him across cities? Or would he let fear win? Again, the climax is close, but not yet, because their hardest choice still lies ahead. Ji-Yuan stood in his office, the city skyline glowing behind him, lost in thought. The whispers in the boardroom kept ringing in his head. Could Mei Lin really be using him? Was she here for a reason other than him? The timing was suspicious. She'd shown up just before the investor meetings, asked questions, lingered in places no one else would. And yet, when he thought about her smile, her stubborn heart, the way she cried when she saw him again after weeks, none of it felt fake. Still, his mind warred with his heart. The next morning, just before the biggest meeting of his company's life, Ji Yuan made a decision. He called Mei Lin to the office. When she arrived, he didn't even greet her, just placed a folder in front of her. "What's this?" she asked, confused. "A non-disclosure agreement," he said quietly. "And a choice." Her eyes widened. "You think I leaked your plans?" "I don't know what to think anymore," he admitted. "I need to protect everything I've built. If you're here for the right reasons, this won't bother you." She looked at him, hurt swelling in her chest. But she didn't argue. She just opened the folder and signed. No questions, no drama. When she finished, she stood and looked at him for a long time. "I loved the farmer who gave me apples and made me feel safe in a world that judged me. And I love the CEO who worked hard for his people and built something out of nothing. But I don't know if he still sees me, or just sees ghosts from his past." Then she left. Ji Yuan watched the door close, feeling like he had just pushed away something too rare to find again. The investor meeting went ahead, but something was off. His thoughts were scattered. Just as he was about to sign the deal, his assistant burst in, pale-faced. "Sir, we found the leak." Ji Yuan stood frozen. It wasn't Mei Lin. It was one of his own senior advisors, someone who had been close to the deal from the beginning. Greedy for a cut, he'd been feeding private documents to the competitor company. Mei Lin had nothing to do with it. Ji Yuan's heart sank. Guilt, sharp and cold, settled in his chest. He didn't wait. He left the meeting mid-discussion, jumped in his car, and drove through the city like a man possessed. He had to find her. He had to fix this. But Mei Lin had already packed. She was at the airport, waiting for a flight back to the capital. Not because she wanted to run, but because staying any longer would only hurt more. Ji Yuan arrived just minutes before boarding. She spotted him running toward her, breathless, eyes wild. "Mei Lin!" he called out. She turned, arms folded, trying to stay strong. "I was wrong," he said, not caring about the stares from strangers. "It wasn't you. I let my fear speak louder than my heart." She didn't say anything. "I know I don't deserve another chance," he continued. "But I need you to know I love you, not the version I imagined. You, all of you." Her eyes welled up. She tried to blink them away, but they spilled anyway. "You broke my heart, Ji Yuan," she said quietly. "But maybe it needed to break so I could see what was real." He took a step closer. "So what now?" She smiled through the tears. "Now, you can take me back to the farm and make me some of those terrible dumplings you called breakfast." He laughed, and it was the kind of laugh that came from the soul. They hugged, not caring who saw. Months later, the headlines read, "Secret CEO and former party girl turn power couple from farm fields to fortune." But to them, none of that mattered. They moved back and forth between the city and countryside, building new projects that mixed technology and tradition. Mei Lin started a foundation for rural education. Ji Yuan expanded his company with sustainable farming tools, and together, they proved that love doesn't always begin with a plan. Sometimes it begins with a mistake, like a drunken kiss under a village moon. And even though they came from different worlds, hers full of noise and lights, his full of silence and soil, they met in the middle, where trust was earned, love was real, and nothing was ever quite as it seemed, because the poor farmer boy was never really poor, and the drunk girl, she was never really lost. They just needed to find each other to become who they were meant to be.